In the age of streaming, serialized television has rapidly become the most popular format for shows to follow. A continuous story across episodes with twists, turns, revelations, and conclusions. The status quo has died, and his iron grip is no more. Characters can remember things that happened an episode ago and face consequences, learn, or grow from it now. That tyrant ruled the television waves for decades though, as studios embracing the storytelling for TV is incredibly recent. Even at just the beginning of this millennium, only 20 years ago, our TV landscape would sound far-fetched to anyone. But of course, serialized stories are nothing new. They've been told before. So what happened in addition to the obvious explosion of streaming services, and what shows paved the way for this to be the new standard and not just an outlier? Let's find out while browsing the 2000s. The most obvious factor is streaming services introducing the concept of binging TV shows. You could always binge TV shows or movies by gathering your DVDs and having some kind of theme night, but that would be an event. You would have to go out of your way to set it up and seek out the material. Now, services like Netflix and Hulu bring you thousands of shows and movies to your TV for a small monthly fee, and you don't even have to get up to change the disc after 6 episodes. Ease of access. The other side of that coin is that many TV shows were simply not made with that ever being possible even in mind. You were meant to watch a show week to week and no more. 2 episodes that week if you were lucky, and a marathon only if something really special was going on. This makes a lot of classic shows kind of difficult to binge, as everything starts to blend together after the 3rd episode in a row, and you notice how everything works and conflicts will resolve. These services realized the strengths of the streaming platform and started to make more serialized shows better suited for it, so subscribers have something worth coming back to once you've exhausted of your favorite shows. Now imagine television studios having to compete with that. Entire seasons of critically acclaimed shows being released at once on streaming services. It's difficult to draw in that crowd with a show that needs to bend over to the status quo every week and employ the same cliches of TV we've known for decades. Everyone would have to update to compete. But the precedent had to come from somewhere. If there's one thing larger corporations stand by, it's the standard. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Networks have to worry about commercial advertising partners, reruns, and syndication, so an ongoing plot where you need to tune in every week was hard to pitch. You miss something, you're out of luck. Good luck catching up, kid. We got 20 other shows we need to fit into our schedule, and the home video release won't be for months if your show even gets one. Why put money into producing and airing something that can alienate viewers like that? So, where can we see the traces of this modern serialized culture start to show up? Where did producers start going, okay, there's something to this, let me try that? First, credit where credit is due. The daytime soap is a tradition that has lasted for practically a century. Shows in this genre will have monstrous, impressive runs, with stories and characters shuffling in and out for years. It showed that people will tune in day after day to follow some drama, but the conditions for these shows were unique. They aired in dead time slots where people were typically at school or work and only stayed home to do housework. They also would come with specific commercials to advertise directly to this crowd with things like house cleaning products. It wasn't so much we have a story to tell and we hope it'll compel people to keep tuning in. It was more, we know specific people will be home these hours. Let's give them something to hear in the background and get familiarized with our products during these commercials. Now, there are 3 shows I want to touch on that really started planting the idea that ongoing plots on TV can not only work, but also thrive. We're gonna have to go back a little earlier than the 2000s for this one, admittedly. Let's start with The X-Files. You see this evolution within The X-Files itself. The show starts off and has many one-off Monster of the Week episodes. It progresses like this until we start following a story of Scully being abducted. Or at least until her actress got pregnant anyways. Yeah, the crazy thing is, this popular storyline wasn't even planned. They just had to write her off. Although this is likely old news to you guys by now. Fan reaction was great though. People were tuning in to see how this unfolds with revelations and continuations steadily throughout the season. The X-Files wasn't an immediate hit. Season 1 saw respectful ratings and views, but the monster, cultural phenomenon you remember hadn't started yet. If we look at Season 1, the highest rating an episode ever had was 14 million views, which is definitely impressive, but was at the very end for the season finale. Viewership would actually drop as low as an 8 on the Nielsen ratings. Season 2 starts off at 16 million views and never dips into the single digits again, the lowest rating being a 12. If we look specifically at Season 2, Episode 6, where Scully's abduction story begins, we see a return to the high ratings range the season experienced at the beginning and a slow, steady climb back up to 16 as people tune in to see where the heck this goes. After this season, numbers just keep going up to impressively high averages and do not dip down to 12 million views again for at least 5 seasons. A far cry from Season 1. X-Files found its footing with an interesting, mysterious premise that caught people's intrigue. It exploded into the popular culture with writing that pushed its government conspiracies theme even further. As mentioned earlier, however, X-Files still relied heavily on Monster of the Week episodes and was arguably the bigger draw of the show in the long run. It planted the seeds in the minds of producers and viewers that this could work to draw ratings for a season, but would it work as the entire basis of a show? For that, we need to look at the next example. Next, we're heading to the turn of the century with The Sopranos. This legendary show ran from January 1999 to 2007. It was one of the most acclaimed television shows ever produced. The series followed the events of Tony Soprano's life as he balances mob activities and family dilemmas. With an ongoing story, mature topics, and in-depth, troubled characters, the show captivated audiences. Its plot and character relationships were front and center and what you tuned in for every week. More than just an ongoing conflict, the characters grew, learned, and saw the consequences of their actions. Viewers would grow invested in a character and have genuine worries since they were not guaranteed to be here every week. The Sopranos were immediately praised with its strong pilot episode out of the gate. Its popularity only increased as it went on and inspired many shows, investing more in a serialized plot than ever. In the wake of these shows, we can see another important element of the serialized shows we take for granted today that may seem obvious on paper, but you would be surprised how much it would be ignored when writing in the past. The series has to have a plan. You can't just make a story-based show and make it up as you go along. Look at Lost. Monster success at the start, and went out with a whimper at the end. The show writers had no overall goal and made it up as it went along. Interest just waned and waned as things made less sense and got more ridiculous. If Lost came out in the current streaming climate today, its steam would have worn off much faster as people binge through it and see everything going wrong sooner. Sopranos' characters, interactions, and stories were planned and calculated. Finally, let's take a look at one more groundbreaking series, 24. "24" was a 2001 to 2010 crime thriller based around a counter-terrorist group led by Jack Bauer. The hook of the show was it took place in real time. Each season had 24 episodes, and each episode was an hour long. In those 24 hours, Jack Bauer had to help stop the terrorist plot of the season. This premise was hammered home on screen with an on-screen ticking clock that would appear before and after commercial breaks, and split-screen segments that showed converging stories of different characters or a race against the clock. You are on the edge of your seat paying attention episode to episode and moment to moment. Now, when I said earlier networks wanted things easily followable so people would keep coming back for ads, I meant it. Shows would often repeat names of characters and have easily followable plots or recaps because if you miss something and can't follow for the rest of the episode, you're tuning out before the next commercial break. And now here comes a show where the twists and tough decisions are by the minute in a real-time based setup. You have to understand the hook, you have to get what's going on in the plot, the show demands your attention. 24 was doing so many new things that despite being picked up for a season by Fox, the showrunners didn't believe they would get picked up for the full 24 episode season they wanted to do, so they wrote a hostage rescue conclusion in the middle of the season in case they didn't get renewed. They were originally greenlit by Fox for 13 episodes. Needless to say, the show went on to be a huge success with way more than 13 episodes. A crucial aspect of 24's impact to analyze was its home video life. Before the 2000s, any kind of home video would take a long time to come out. You were waiting years sometimes to even get a movie on VHS, so broadcasting on TV was a big deal, unlike today where you'll flip through at least 50 channels broadcasting a movie just from last year. TV shows would take even longer, if ever. This was because many shows didn't need to be packaged together like that. There was no ongoing narrative you needed to understand to be able to come back for the later seasons if you weren't there at the beginning. And if there was a tiny bit, they could just get more ads out of it through syndication or occasional reruns to catch you up. This wasn't going to fly with 24. You need to know what happened in season 1 going into season 2. Getting new people to tune in season after season to justify keeping it on the air was going to be hard in the climate of 2002, so they changed the climate. 24's hit first season ended on May 21st, 2002. 24 Season 1 was released on DVD on September 17th, 2002. This was genuinely unprecedented. It was unheard of to see an entire season of a show be released in full on home video the same year the season finished airing. Before, you may have gotten a disc with a couple of best episodes, but nothing like this. 24 Season 2 was set to air October 29th, 2002. Season 1 was deliberately rushed to DVD, so people were catching the hype from word of mouth could catch up in time to watch Season 2 as it aired. And this was a bare bones release with literally just a season. Season 1 was later re-released in 2008 with the expected extras of DVDs like bonus features and outtakes. Also in 2002, we see the sales of DVDs surpass the sales of VHS for the first time in the United States. Consumers spent 2.4 more times on DVDs in 2002 than in 2000, despite having a smaller install base of DVD players at the time. Another piece of interesting data we could pull from this bizjournals.com article is that rentals of VHS tapes still exceeded rentals of DVDs at this time. Now we can infer some interesting data from this. With DVDs and VHS tapes both on the market for rent and for purchase at the same time, we can infer that the rentals of VHSs was more popular because it would be a one and done deal. As opposed to a DVD, considering the types of shows that were on the market on DVD at this time, you would want to hold on to that and be able to own it, to keep coming back to it, to see these shows to fruition. Ergo, why people would buy the DVD instead of renting it, because it would give you more time that you wouldn't have with a simple rental. Another signifier of the times changing for the home video market in 2002. This demonstrated to people the final key serialized shows needed was now available: accessibility. As time went on, Netflix came in, Netflix evolved, other corporations saw what was working and wanted in on it. I feel these three shows best demonstrated the events that led to this type of content we know today being able to find a home and an audience. From pushing to redefining what kind of stories could be told on TV, to bucking an old trend in home video releases, these three set the groundwork that other shows would perfect and enjoy. Happy streaming!